Welcome to the Media Nerds Podcast. I'm Dan Vandemalker.
And I'm Kenton Larson.
And Kenton, today we're on summer vacation. Happy summer vacation.
To you too. Well deserved.
Yes, very much. After a year, a roller coaster of a year, as it were, in our field. But today we're going to talk about kind of summer sports. Is kind of how I'm framing this. Because over the last week or so, we've both been experiencing different summer sports in different ways. We're going to talk about that. But first, I want to issue a bit of a correction, I think, from a previous episode, Star Wars Nerds episode, in which you told us that there was a Rod of the Hutt TV series in the works and that Vince Gilligan was involved.
That's what they said. I saw it on Variety and whatever.
Did you actually see it, though? Did you just look at a link?
No, I saw it. I saw it shared.
Rod of the Hutt series, I cannot find anything about it.
Shared by reputable news sources.
Because when I clicked the thing you sent me, when I clicked on the link that you sent me, it takes me to a different article, not that one. It takes me to, I don't mean to put you on the spot. You don't have to go verifying this at this point. I thought it was just I thought you got taken in by clickbait is what happened.
No. I saw it on a legit source.
Well, here's Kate. Here's the AI overview that it just gave me. Reports of a Star Wars spin-off series focused on Jabba the Hutt's son, Rod of the Hutt, are merely unconfirmed rumors stemming from online speculation and do not reflect an actual project in development. In reality, Breaking Bad creator Vince Gilligan is showrunning a highly praised sci-fi drama series called Pluribus on Apple TV. And yeah, so there's no... I mean, it's just someone like maybe Vince Gilligan watched the movie and goes, I'd like to make a series about that. And that's all we have at this point. But you made it seem like it was a done deal. I will say that.
I know that Vince Gilligan is working on Pluribus, of course, and I figured it would be down the line. But down the line, yeah, when he's done that, then he's going to do this. It is like the Breaking Bad of Star Wars. So you're kind of like, yeah, wouldn't surprise me if this is a discussion that they had, you know. But no, I saw it on legit news sources. For sure I did.
I double check that because I'll put some in the show notes if I can find something. Because honestly, I went back to that one. I'm like, oh, let's read more about that, and it was a different thing. And I'm like, wait a minute, and I googled it, and I could not find anything about. I just went Rod of the Hit TV series, nothing. The AI thing didn't come up until I put Vince Gilligan in there, and I guess that's kind of to address the rumors. But I know not to trust AI actually because I learned that lesson in a new endeavor that I'm starting to move on to the next topic. This week, I started working in the area of motorsports, Kenton. How do you feel about motorsports? I actually didn't ask you before we started this.
Well, I'm known to watch F1 on Sundays, and sometimes I watch the whole thing, and sometimes I fast forward it to the end so I can watch and pause on the car crashes. And when Max Verstappen wins, I can sleep well knowing that I know what the outcome of the race was. So sometimes I don't have time for a 2-hour race, 48 lap race or whatever. Right. But other times I do. So I like car racing. Who doesn't?
I do too. I discovered that last night. I wasn't really sure. This is kind of an endeavor that came my way, and I thought, yeah, this sounds like something I'll find. So what I'm doing is I'm an announcer at the race. This is at Victory Lane Speedway, just outside of Winnipeg in St. Adolphe, and it is like what you're describing. F1 is the highest level of racing achievable. This is probably like closer to the bottom. It is still professional racing, though. It is still like these are cars with sponsors who get paid for winning. Like there is a system in place here. There's not a league. I don't know what you call it, but it's like a group organization that oversees these races and their rankings and stuff. And this is kind of like it's like a farm league for, I would say, more likely Daytona, like stock car racing kind of stuff. But I guess those drivers also can move on to F1 too, right? Any driver can drive at any level of this, right?
I don't know. I think F1 considers themselves the elite,
right?
Because it's
places where haven't like NASCAR racers gone on to drive in F1? Or no?
Good question.
It's not just that Brad Pitt movie.
I never saw that movie, by the way. Although everybody said it was pretty good.
Okay.
That's a good question. I don't off the top of my head, I can't say for sure, but like F1, those teams have billions of dollars. They're carrying cars around the world on a week-to-week basis and crashing them left and right. And so I think that's where it becomes the elite level of the sport. It becomes more important that you don't crash that car, that you have like a trained pilot in that car, because
Sure.
you're going so fast that but probably not everybody would be able to do that, I'm guessing.
Okay. Well, this is a much more closer to like grassroots level kind of thing,
Yeah.
much closer to the community. I was like not shocked, just not so shocked, but it was like the stands were full on opening night. Everyone who likes to race was out there to watch them, and it is basically just a series of heats and different categories of racing. They have like, you know, I got to learn all the terms, mods, super mods, super trucks. They have super trucks. They have a 4-cylinder category, which my co-host, my co-announcer, looked at with disdain a little bit, because there's very small cars. Like, I think it's cool. Like, you're in a Honda Civic racing around the track. That's kind of a neat idea. And so basically, the job is to, as they're coming out, you say all the racer names and their number and where they're from, and then as they're racing around, I'm kind of like, I guess I'm supposed to be like color guy, giving interesting facts and stuff, while he's doing like the play-by-play of like the track. Like, he's going on there saying what's happening
During the race?
During the race, yes. And it's like, and he talked about, he's like, yeah, they can't really hear me. Like, all right,
Over the loudspeaker?
over the loudspeaker, yeah.
So you're fighting with the engines, with the car engine.
That's right. Yeah. Yes, he's doing that. And I'm like, yeah. And I didn't do much talking last night. I'll say that on my first night, because I wanted to kind of observe and see what was going on. And kind of, I did whatever I was asked. I was like, okay, let me like, I did kind of step up to go like do the megaphone thing. But as I'll talk about in a second, but yeah, I was just like kind of watching this guy do his thing, and he's basically like pointing out, yeah, there's a spin out, there's a lot of spin outs. It's a dirt track. So first of all, you're starting with that. And cars will, like,
do cars crash into each other?
No crashes, like they'll bump. They'll try, like, they get, yellow flags if that happens, right? And so everyone has to slow down. Well, there were quite a few racers that like were out of the race because of that kind of stuff. I think it's 2 yellow flags and you're out. So you can't do too much of that. Like, they're really careful for what they're doing. They're racing around track at top speeds. But and there's a lot of drifting. They're drifting through that dirt pretty smoothly, I would say.
But sorry, what speedway are we talking about here? Oh yeah.
Just south of Winnipeg. By the way, they're also opening up, and this is what really drew me in. They're going to be opening up a drive-in movie theater later this summer. That I'm excited about, because that's going to be the first drive-in we've had near Winnipeg in decades, I want to say. I don't remember when the other one shut down.
Near the speedway or right at the speedway?
It's going to be near the speedway, apparently. And then I was just talking to my coworker there, and he said that they want to set it up so that the screen can be seen from the speedway, so you can also use it for speedway stuff. Like, we could show the race on the screen. I don't know. It sounds like a neat idea.
Cool.
Yeah. So, but anyway, yeah. So, and I thought it was really interesting seeing this kind of level of sporting event where it's still like, everyone's like, so much work, it's so much money into these cars, and they're just racing for a few minutes, and everyone's there. There's a lot of kids there. Kids really like it, right? They love the fast cars. And so, part of my job is to announce the names. Part of my job is to their sponsors as well. There's also like, go down to the concession stand, and I was plugging the new frozen bananas, chocolate covered bananas, and that kind of stuff. But what happened was, actually about halfway through, the power went out. So, which is, and then to said it was a first time they've ever lost power during a race. So that's interesting.
So the lights went out?
The way it was still daylight, like it starts around 7 p.m. and this was around maybe 9:30, so it was still pretty bright out. But as soon as they realized what was happening, and as soon as, like, once the power's out, our job becomes nothing, because we're not on air anywhere, and we have power needs to go get our voice to the speakers, so we're not going to be heard anywhere. So we just kind of sat there. And then my boss came up, gave me the megaphone, and said, go walk up and down and tell people that the power is out and that we called hydro, and that's all we can do. And they basically just sped through the rest of the races as fast as they could until they lost daylight. Like, they wanted to get through all the races to get them, because they won't need the results for the league or whatever. But yeah, I just kind of sat there and observed for the second half of it, which was great, because it was a good, just to take it all in. I understand kind of the situation that I'm getting myself into. I had no context for this other than I did one season behind the in the broadcast booth of the Bombers when I was at CJOB, and that's like a similar experience this is a much smaller level than that. But yeah, it was still a lot of fun. And it was great to see everyone coming out to the races. And so Thursdays, if you want to come out to the Victory Lane Speedway and check
Oh
it out.
yeah, I would.
Thursdays, I don't know how much it is, honestly. I don't know what the tickets cost. I didn't look at it.
Oh, it can't be that much.
Okay, I know. It's like, and kids are probably cheap. The kids, they do like it's really geared towards the kids. They do a candy toss or whatever for the kids.
What,
And then
what's
and then what?
sorry, what's the prime? Who is in the stands? Who do you see when you look into the stands? What is the primary demographic?
Rural
Families?
Manitoba. Yeah, families.
Oh.
Rural Manitoba families is a lot of what it is. Everybody there, like all the races were from, some of them from Winnipeg, but a lot of them are from Steinbach, St. Adolphe, all kinds of New Bothwell. There was a driver from New Bothwell. Some are from Ontario. And so basically it's kind of like I said, it's a real community event. The power, because the power went out, I wasn't able to do my main job, which is going to be next week. I'll be doing it, which is to interview the drivers after the race. So what happens is in the first half of it, basically they do the heats, which are like the qualifying rounds to determine the placement for the final, what they call a feature. So they do heats of like stock cars, they have these different trucks and all these different categories. And so they do the heats and then they take a break, it's intermission. And then after the break, they do one final race for each one to determine the winner and the placement. So that's what, and then after those features, I'm supposed to go down and interview the racer. So that didn't happen. All that happened was the racer, came down, they gave him the checker flag that he won. Like that's the kind of give him the puck. Like they're giving the puck to the guy who's
Do you get money too? Do they win money?
Yes, they win money. There's a big novelty check that I'm supposed to give them when I go down there. So this is all
no, it's not phony. It's real. It's a real.
Well, I'm giving them a big sponsored novelty check with the sponsor's name on it.
And how much? How much do they win?
I don't know. I'm not sure actually how much. It's not a lot. It's like a little, it's like enough to keep you going and probably thousands of bucks. I don't know.
Oh, that's good.
But I mean, it's not nothing, but it's not like you're not making tons of money. They do it because they love it. They clearly love it. It's clearly families. Like this whole thing about, I mean, you probably heard about racing families. Like this is very much a thing. There are like multiple people with the same name racing against each other because they're siblings and they grew up in a family of racers, and they're like, this whole thing keeps going. So must be like sustainable, all right, for them to keep doing it. And there's a lot of sponsors, a lot of interesting sponsorships, probably lots of interesting sponsorship opportunities. If you were looking to target a rural audience with something, this is not a bad place to go to do. Like you could be sponsored. There's billboards there, of course. There's like ones we would say during the game. There's a race day sponsor. There's all kinds of ones they do there. So that's kind of cool.
What time does the racing start on Thursdays?
7 p.m.
Oh, it's 7 p.m.
Yeah.
So it's still daylight.
Yeah, it's about 3 hours. Usually it's about like this one. Well, we went a little late because there was a bit of a delay, like when they realized the power went out, and they maybe waited about half an hour before they made the call to just continue on. And so because of that, we didn't end up leaving until like 10:30. But I think generally it's done by like 9:30, 10 o'clock.
Oh,
so yeah, it's a nice evening.
No, that sounds excellent. I'll definitely come to one of them this summer. That sounds like lots of fun.
Bring your earplugs.
Oh yeah, earplugs.
It's real loud.
Yeah, okay, that's good. Good advice. I wear them to concerts, so
yeah.
It wouldn't necessarily occur to me to wear them to the speedway, but yeah, that's good. Good advice. But wait a sec. If we need earplugs, then how would we hear your announcing?
Well, you can take them out, but I think you probably should be able to hear me anyway because my voice is pretty loud.
So you'll be interviewing people on the track, and there will still be engines like roaring all around.
I don't know about that part. Like it's gonna be like they come up to this little gate, and they come up, and I just kind of have a microphone that I just talk to them, and I'm like, how many questions do we ask? The guy's like 2. So like, I got 2 questions, and he's like, but don't.
What is your name?
How do you feel right now? But it's like try to make it about something that just happened on the track. You're like, all right. So I'm like, I guess they like, oh, you had a lead for a while there or something. I'm trying to like make it a good question. I'm like, dude, I'm just gonna try and ask a question and get a good answer and get out of there as quickly as I can. I'm not gonna worry about that stuff later.
Dan, you have to watch something now that I know that you're doing that part of it. At the beginning of the Formula One races, they send some poor bastard out onto the track to interview people to get an interesting story. And the guy, and he's a British guy, and who seems to be fuddled. So right away, it's funny. It's funny because he doesn't quite know what he's supposed to do. So it's funny, but and generally the drivers want nothing to do with this guy. They just want to, and everybody else who's hobnobbing on the track is like a Weasley sponsor or someone with deep pockets who's allowed to get onto the track. And so they're, by definition, they're less interesting than like a fan of racing. And so sometimes he'll say, "Who are you?" And they'll go, "Oh, I'm Team Procter and Gamble," or something like that. And he'll be like, "Okay, yeah, all right, bye." he'll just, and he'll leave. But it's funny because it's the same kind of thing, the struggle to get something interesting on a track before the race is even run. And I think the race, if the race starts at a prescribed time, and that's when most people tune in, it's right before that you see the guy like trying to get something good. So that'll be you. And but you don't have a British accent, but you might want to put one on.
We could do the mid prairies version of that, you know.
Yeah.
the Canadian version of that, and in the dirt track of St. Adolphe, Manitoba.
I love it. That's great. That's great. That's fun and exciting. Do they broadcast this anywhere, or it's just on the speakers there? They should.
I haven't had a conversation with her about that, but they're more concerned with getting people in seats. They're not worried about like, you know, that kind of stuff. Maybe if there was a big event there or something, or a big race, they might do it. But that right now it's just like getting people out there. I wouldn't say though, like just from one day of observing, there's lots of opportunity for them to do social media stuff that I don't think they're doing. Just I might suggest that to them. Because they've also got a lot of kids working there. They've got just a fleet of kids. What am I saying? They've got a army of children. That doesn't sound very good. A lot of
great army
teenagers working there to do all kinds of stuff. Like there were teens running back and forth, fetching things, and all kinds of stuff. So get those teens on their phones shooting stuff, and they really like get a lot of attention online from some of this, because it is cool. It's very cool to see, you know, at this level, people putting this much time and effort into something that they truly love.
Well, that's awesome. I'll be coming out to one of those, and I think as somebody who shoots videos on TikTok, you probably have lots of opportunities there to get fun stuff that you could post there, let alone them.
What was I going to say? There will be, I think, I'll let you know which dates they are. There will be a couple dates that I'm going to be doing it either by myself or I'll be the main guy, because the guy I've been working with is going away. He let me know right away. It's just like our students. I've got a wedding to go to.
Oh yeah. Oh God.
No, his brother's getting married in BC. It's like, okay, fine. He's going to be away from some days.
Does he have to go back for the divorce? Or that's always my question.
Right. That's right.
Do I get the time back to teach you if they get divorced?
And then the other reason he's leaving is in August, I think he's going to see Rush in Toronto. So I'm like, well, that's worth seeing too. So there you go. There's two good reasons to be away. But I'll be more at that point. I'll let you know. Maybe you can come one of those nights and kind of hear more of me.
Yeah, that would be fun. By the way, is there an EV category of racing? Any electric vehicles racing?
No, but that is a good idea. I thought about that, honestly, because part of me does like worry about the carbon going into the atmosphere.
Oh, sure, yeah.
God, but it's like, and these guys don't even use regular. Like, there's one category that uses regular gas, and all the other ones use racing fuel. And it's like everyone has racing fuel. God, imagine how much racing
fuel.
Yes,
I don't even know what that is. Should I ask for it at the gas station?
No, you cannot get it at the gas station. Like, no idea where to get it from. But anyway, so I just want to kind of like let people know what's going on there, invite them out to the track, and this is also, I'll add, leading to me kind of coming back to Facebook in a way, because that is where Victory Lane does all of its stuff, is on Facebook. So I kind of go on the page and get a sense of like all the different sponsors and all the different things that they've just basically put everything up there. And so I've kind of creepily, I mean, I've also started sharing like trivia videos on Facebook again, and on Instagram, and basically anything I post on TikTok is getting it posted to everywhere basically that I have. That's kind of the idea now.
Yeah. Oh, that's good. That's good. And I mean, that a speedway by definition is a place where anything that's moving and includes big vehicles and engines roaring, I think that stuff would do great on TikTok.
Sure.
Crashes.
Maybe I should just ask them if I can start a TikTok account for them.
Yeah, I'll bet. And if all they care about is getting people there, that would actually help. That would help promote it. Because I mean, every time I drive past Victory Lane Speedway, I think about, like, I remember going there as a kid, I don't know if it was Victory Lanes that I went to. I remember going to see car races though as a kid, and that was always
They're
fun.
50 something years, so it couldn't
Yeah.
have been that. It was like, yeah.
Yeah, you get, the candy apples and stuff. Like it was kind of a fun night out in the summer, just one of those summer experiences that you remember from being a kid. So I think that could actually help them.
60 million fans attend motorsports events every year in North America, with millions more watching it on TV, reading about it in magazines, and checking the results on the internet. Victory Lane Speedway is your chance to get involved with the fast-paced world of motorsports right in your own backyard.
There has been a major sporting event going on in the world, and even someone as like non-interested as myself can tell based on all the promotion, all the things I see around me. Yeah. There's something going on right now.
Are you talking about the Stanley Cup Finals, Dan?
Yes, or the New York Knicks.
Just kidding.
Actually, there's a couple. New York Knicks winning the NBA. Boy, did they make a big deal out of that one.
Oh my God. Yeah, and once again, proving that wherever the world's concentration of media is, like New York, anything that happens there, even if it has zero impact on the rest of the world, will be the most important thing that day. So yeah, I had no interest in that. And it must be said, Canadians love hockey. We all know it, but not when there's two American teams in the final. They sure don't like that. Yeah. And so that was of zero interest to me too. Although normally I would have watched the final game, but that was not on my radar. It just went right by, and I just looked and I went, "Oh, Carolina won. Oh, good for Ehlers, former Winnipeg Jet." That's like the Canadian fans' interest. Oh, a guy who I knew on our team is on that team now. Okay. But it's not exciting. And the audience, it's ironic that the audience gets smaller and smaller as you get closer. In fact, if anything, it reminds me of American Idol.
And speaking of which, we should mention that it was also recently announced that the CBC has lost. There's not going to be any more hockey broadcasts on CBC in Canada. Right. The Broadcasting Corporation will no longer have Hockey Night Canada. It's now because they had to deal with Rogers, and Rogers had that thing, but now they don't have that deal anymore. And so I don't know who's going to have it now, but it's because CBC, nobody cares about CBC, but also the audience is shrinking, right? So there's less and less people to kind of grab onto.
Well, they couldn't come to financial terms, I think, is probably what it came down to, but it's a Canadian tradition, Hockey Night in Canada. And even though, and once again, like a Canadian tradition, it is a throwback in many ways when you could imagine that everybody had access to CBC on TV at one point, and which they now don't. And so Hockey Night in Canada was must-see TV from that era. And you couldn't, if you saw the list of the top shows in Canada, that'd be in the top 10 every week, was Hockey Night in Canada on CBC. So yeah, that is the end of an era. There's lots of sports stories these days, hey? Yeah. But I think what you were referring to was the World Cup, which my detox from work, for we're teachers. So over the summer, you have detox. You need to get out of there. You need to get away from Excel spreadsheets. You need to get away from Microsoft Teams. Need to get away from anything Microsoft has created. Basically, that's my main goal in life. And thanks, Microsoft, for making work so pleasurable and for destroying.
Does Microsoft sponsor the World Cup, Kenton? Have you seen any Microsoft ads?
No, haven't seen any because they can't be associated with anything that brings people joy. So it's my detox. It's the equivalent. I know some students, I think when school's over for students, first they burn their books. Everybody knows that. They just like they did with Beatles records back in the 50s. That's what kids do with their books and with their textbooks, which they have yet to crack. They throw them into the fire. And then they probably stream Netflix. There's probably a bunch of people who binge watch Netflix. So my version of that, especially when there's a World Cup, is I time my vacation to start when the World Cup starts. And so I'm a regular viewer of the World Cup when it's on. I've probably been watching it since, I don't know, how many years has it been? Like 30 years probably. But once again, I don't watch every single game. I watch most of them though, because even this year, and I guess it's always the same with the World Cup, which is every year there's surprises that make it worth watching and things that happen. But it's true that things can go a long time without a goal sometimes. But also Canada is in the World Cup this year and doing well as of yesterday, scoring. Although then again, they were playing Qatar with 9 players because 2 of them got red cards. So come on, how hard is that going to be? But it's led to the illusion that we might have a chance at this thing, which is good, which is a good illusion to have for another week. So good. I welcome that illusion wholeheartedly. And some of the games are being hosted in Canada, though not the marquee games really. So there's a few of those things. And the thing that's new this year, though, and I teach advertising in addition to liking the World Cup, they have introduced hydration breaks, which it became very clear early on was not really about the players being hydrated and more about the advertisers and sponsors' wallets being hydrated, getting lubed up to show during some ad inventory that has never been there before, which is 3 minutes in the first half, 3 minutes in the second half. And then they add it onto the game as overage time at the end. It's absurd at the end of each half. However, so I did a TikTok this week where I pointed out like a hydration break, just a fancy word. This is the year that we started calling commercial breaks hydration breaks. Sure.
Yeah.
Also, football, as defined by European football, is a game of 2 halves. If you cut those in half, now you're watching 4 quarters, but they're still calling them 2 halves. It's 4 quarters with commercials that they're now selling. And I think we're close to football becoming like American football in every sense of the word. I think we're almost there. This is the first dipping the toe in the pool to see what will be tolerated by fans. And apparently they're not showing the commercials in England. I've seen people online saying that they just see the players hydrating, which is what you used to see when it was too hot.
Right.
So it's North American audiences and others, I suppose. I don't know which others, but that are seeing new commercial inventory. And it's not going over well. And even the announcers seem sheepish about saying, well, it's time for the hydration break because they know people hate it.
Well, it feels like such a betrayal of the game, like that's the thing that had going, like soccer had going for it is this continuous play. It goes straight through, like first half, second half, and they have the thing with the extra minutes. So if there is a delay, they put on the extra minutes so that you're still playing the same amount of time, which they do, I guess, because so technically they're still playing the same amount of time, but it feels like a false. It's a false add-on, right? It's like they didn't need to do that. The only reason why don't we play 3 minutes of commercials at the end of the game? Because nobody's going to watch that. And so you're right. This is the beginning of it, and so then this becomes a commercial break, and then a segment of announcers talking about stuff, and another again, then it just turns into to American football or any other broadcast.
Right.
I wonder when they brought this in for hockey, because hockey has had that for a long time, where they do say it's a commercial break. They call it a commercial break, and all the players just sit there and drink water and kind of rest for a few minutes while they play ads, and they play ads in the arena, right? Like that's a place for the arena to sell ads, or the team to sell ads rather, and make money that way. So, but on TV, they would go to a commercial break for TV. And I wonder if people were upset about it back then.
Well, I remember being at hockey games when everybody, you're in the middle of the play and it's exciting, and then suddenly everyone skates over to the side. I remember being confused by that, going like, what just happened? Like, was there a penalty or a timeout or something? No, it's the commercial timeout. I remember like, what? I remember being skeptical even about that. But because of that, that's what gives the World Cup a chance. And I guess broadcasters, like, as long as money is flowing in, it makes everybody happy associated in the venture of putting on a World Cup. But for the viewing, well, there's a couple of things. I think for gameplay, it changes the play. It stops things that are happening, and probably has led to some outcomes that wouldn't have happened without it. So there's that element. But then for a viewer, it actually takes you out of the game too.
Mm.
So they always say football is the beautiful game. And with every one of these things that they add, you wonder how much less beautiful is it now with this little addition, with that little addition.
Seems like a backward step to me to be like this kind of interruption-based advertising, which has been diminishing in the last few years. Like when you watch, even in the ad-supported streaming services I have, commercial breaks are much shorter than they used to. Commercials are shorter than they used to be. Like 15 seconds is now the kind of the standard length on YouTube as well when I watch ads on YouTube. And so to kind of insert this in the middle of a game when they have already we've talked about this with the podcast before, and you've told me that they found really creative ways to get advertising in the game, like along the sideboards, and
right.
Of course all the players have advertising all over their shirts. Like, is there not enough space for advertising here? Do we have to add more? It does seem a bit greedy at this point, but maybe it's because the revenues have dropped somewhere else that they're rationalizing it. I don't know. Maybe there's an issue there.
Well, also famously, like I like the World Cup enough that I would be interested in going to see it live. But once again, the ticket prices, it's $1,700 a ticket for the group stage. So that's unheard of. That's ridiculous. But I would like, hey, it'd be fun to go see, like yesterday, to see that in Canada, to see Canada score 7 goals. That was probably, everybody there was thrilled, and they had the best time. But once again, it's like at the beginning of Life of Brian, where you see the person furthest away from the Sermon on the Mount. You can't hear anything. It's the same thing. Like, they should give us that shot at the World Cup. They should pan all the way back to the worst seats in the house and ask the person, how much did you pay for these seats? Like $1,200. Okay, what can you see? Are you having the time of your life looking at this postage stamp down here, or essentially watching the big screen TV? The Jumbotron at the game? Like, at a certain point, it does not become worth the money.
No, there was the other conversation they're having with the Knicks games, is they got like asking celebrities how much they pay for their Knicks tickets for those final games, or whatever. It's just insane. The reason I said
celebrities get in free.
Yes, that's right. Yes, I did hear that.
Disgusting.
The reason I said earlier that I was still aware, even though I have no interest in soccer and I'm not a football, I don't watch any of this stuff. But I am aware again, and maybe it's because Canada is hosting games. There's a lot of brands, a lot of advertising, not even related to, like, I'm just in this other stuff I'm watching related to World Cup. It's the time of the year. It's the same thing that happens with the Olympics, where every brand that has paid for the sponsorship of the Olympics is like, okay, we can now use because they're very strict about that, right? Nobody can say Olympics unless you pay for that, right? Just go nuts. Like RBC are the official bank of the Olympics and that kind of stuff. And that's happening again for the World Cup. I'm seeing a lot of different ads for a lot of different brands. Some of them more related than others. It's kind of funny. Do you have any ads that you can think of that were standing out?
I'm sick of the Bank of Montreal guy sitting behind the desk.
Okay.
That guy, that needs to go away. We've seen that.
You know what? I think he is bound for bigger things. He is in that Spider Noir series with Nicolas Cage. That's on Prime, and I hear that's really good. I haven't watched it yet, but I hear it's good. So, and I've seen him. I think I think his commercial days are done. I'm hoping, because he's also in New Girl. That's a guy from New Girl. Like, he's a working actor.
I don't know that show, but I mean the guy's he's raking in the money from Bank of Montreal without a doubt.
So did Jay Baruchel did it for a while. So does Will Arnett. That's where he might be Canadian. That's where Canadians come to make some money, is they come and do an ad in Canada, and then the American audiences don't see it, right? That's what that is. But I'm thinking more in terms of, there's some really good ads. The one I think might be my favorite is the Gordon Ramsay ad, which is like, he will sell his soul to anything. He'll do an ad. I see him doing ads for like frying pans and for all kinds of different things. And this is an Uber Eats ad where he comes in and yells at people for cooking in the middle of the game. It's pretty funny. It's pretty funny. Yeah, it's good.
Yeah,
like, I time to fill in a bass, right?
Yeah, I like that ad. I thought that ad was good too. To the point that I'm embarrassed to say it's a good ad, because it seems obvious in some ways, but it's still very effective, no doubt about it. There's also, you just reminded me actually of something. Those Will Arnett Royal Bank ads.
Yeah.
I attended an Ad Standards Canada webinar last week on what did Canadians complain about in terms of advertising, and one of the ones that was found to be demeaning or degrading under the Ad Standards Canada code was a Will Arnett Royal Bank ad in which he talks over somebody working at the Royal Bank, which happens to be a woman and person of color in the ad. And they said the impression that the ad leaves is not a good one, even though that's the joke that they were trying to make in the ad, is that he's an actor who's full of himself. But maybe that message, that was not the message that people got when they watched that ad. And so Ad Standards Canada took action to get the Royal Bank to stop running that ad. But as it turns out, the bank had already stopped running that ad. So there was no corrective action. Either the campaign had run its course, or maybe they too had heard that.
Well, if they
people
post it on their
enjoying it.
YouTube channel or Facebook and the comments start rolling in, then that's enough indication that they can need to pull it. They don't need anything more than that. That's funny. The other ad I'm thinking about for the World Cup is, of course, there's the TV. I don't know. I need to actually know which TV brand it is. I'm ashamed to say. I want to say LG or something like that, but it's a TV brand. It might be Samsung, actually, now that I think about it. And there's a couple of different ads, but the whole thing is about them. Like the game is on and everyone wants to watch it. So it's actually a good idea as well. Like if you're not going to be at the game, then you want to watch the game. So there's one where there's some kids like looking in the window of a shop, and so it's a bar and the kids can't go in. So he takes the TV, puts it outside so they can all watch the game. There's another one where there's this guy delivering, speaking of Uber Eats, this guy's delivering food. And then the guy's like taking the food and they both start watching he's watching the food in a game on his phone, and then they both turn to the TV and they're like, go, and they're like getting excited about the game and stuff like that. That's a really cool one. So I like those.
I noticed David Beckham is like, I guess he's forever, I guess in North Americans' mind, he's the only soccer player they've ever heard of. Yes. I guess since
the basis hockey, Wayne Gretzky hockey, David Beckham soccer. Yes. Yeah.
So Beckham for home hardware or home whatever. Oh God, it's all over YouTube. I see it 500 times a day, but then I've also seen it on TV. So Beckham is showing up in that. Then there's an ad with him and why can't I think of his name? The comedian, the main guy in the American Office. Why can't I think of his name? Yeah, Steve Carell. Steve Carell, David Beckham, and Messi, Lionel Messi, the soccer player, having a party at their home. Yeah, sure. And inviting people at the grocery store. Yeah, sure. That's just average people. Yeah, sure. Show me where the security check was. Like, it doesn't ring true at all. I also noticed that Messi isn't allowed to say a word in any ad that he appears in, at least in North America. He says nothing. And there's an ad where it appears that he shows up to, was it Pepsi? I think it's Pepsi. He shows up to take a single kick at a ball, and then the rest of the commercial appears to be his body double doing lots of other things, doing all kinds of crazy things. So he shows up in his contract, close-ups and one kick at the ball is what you get for $10 million.
Did you see the David Beckham going through the McDonald's drive-through ads? Speaking of unlikely scenarios, where it's funny though. It's funny. He's like, please be a Beckham. He gets his own cup. It's like, because they have collectible cups at McDonald's and you don't know what it is until you unwrap it, I guess, which is kind of a neat idea. And he was like, yes, I got a Beckham. He's excited about getting himself as a cup. I think that's kind of a funny idea too.
You know, I saw another version of that commercial where I didn't actually recognize that the guy who says, "Oh, I'm disappointed in this cup I got." I was like, "Why is he disappointed?" Oh, because it's not him. He's a player. Like, there's a few things like that where I'm like, "Oh, okay." I didn't know he was a player.
Yeah, well, that's why they do it with David Beckham, because he is the only recognizable soccer player to America.
I know that. So we see so much David Beckham, but I thought that David Beckham, like in the past, a guy like him would have done Hair Club for Men or something, because he's got like the best hair addition to a guy's head, because he's got the best one money can buy. So all I'm thinking when I'm watching that is, where did he buy that hair piece? That's what I want to know. Hey, ironically, he should give them a plug. Thank you.
Anything else about the World Cup that stood out to you as far as the marketing or the?
Well,
I don't care about the games.
they've added they've added more teams.
Oh,
So it takes longer, and there's more teams in it that would not have qualified otherwise. Oh, there's some of that. So like you can see through the attempt to make more money at every turn.
and of course, there's also the issue about like they're stopping referees because of the color of their skin and not letting them in the country and all that other stuff. Like America doing its usual America bullshit is a problem as well.
And there's also we love our cultural stereotypes, and so we can't get enough of this. The Scots have drank all the beer in Boston. The Scottish people drank so much beer in Boston that they ran out. And or the Australian fans have drained all of the beer in Vancouver. So it's we get those stories as well. The culture, the cultural stereotype stories, which never seem to run out. So there's it's interesting because I thought we were going to see more empty stadiums than what we've seen at that price, and some of them do have empty seats, no doubt about it. But for now, it's always goes the same way, which is people get caught up in it and just start enjoying it, and that's what I'm doing too. I'm not traveling to America. My boycott continues, but I am watching it on TV.
And we have no interest. We have no interest in whatever the UFC thing was going on, or on the White House. That was just kind of ridiculous. Not a big.
That's another sports story that happily was steamrolled by a lot of other sports stories.
There was a lot of sports. You're right. A lot of sports going on for some reason. Interesting. Huh. That's all the world has left now. I mean, they say sports is a substitute for war. War is still happening in the world. Like that's still a thing, unfortunately. So sports isn't doing its job, but people really do get worked up about their sports teams. We've certainly seen evidence of that this past week.
And apparently the reflecting pool in Washington, D.C. is fascinating. It's fascinating on a daily basis. We're gonna
Charles.
Yeah, we're gonna send out. Yesterday they sent out Jonathan Carl, one of the finest reporters at ABC, to go test the water at the reflecting pool. What? How long can this story last? Are we going to see a visit to the reflecting pool every single day till the end of time to check the algae levels?
They're just like so happy that something went wrong with it. They just like to point out that the shit that's going wrong. That's all it is.
The money spent, and then the overall impact, which was nil. That's a story that has legs.
There are some big new changes at the Lincoln Memorial Reflecting Pool. New fencing is now up around the landmark. The Department of the Interior says the barriers were planned ahead of July 4th fireworks for public safety. But officials tell us the fencing went up earlier than expected after President Trump claimed vandals cut a 350-foot gash in the landmark. There's also new security cameras that you'll notice set up near the reflecting pool. Meanwhile, concerns are growing after several ducks were found dead near the pool. A local wildlife group says the cause of those deaths are under investigation.
Okay, let's finish up by giving some recommendations. What have you been watching other than the World Cup?
Oh my goodness, what have I been watching? You might need to go first on this one. I'm gonna have to give this a thought. Go ahead.
I'll start by talking about it's an older series. So it's a near and dear to my heart as a child. It's something I watched as a child, and I was talking to my oldest son about it, and he had some questions about the decorations, but it's the Dukes of Hazzard. Kenton, do you remember the Dukes of Hazzard?
How could I forget the Dukes of Hazzard? Of course I remember. Yeah.
Because and I'm sure, did you have that? I had Dukes of Hazzard bed sheets as a child when I was 4 or 5 years old, whatever age it was. I love this TV show. I had the sheets. They happen to have a Confederate flag on them because that's on the car. Right? They have a car with a Confederate flag.
Nobody knew then. It was children who were watching that show.
That's right. And I think it's awesome. So I've been watching the Dukes of Hazzard on Prime, and I kind of love it. It's so simple in its execution, and it is somewhat formulaic, but apparently it gets worse later on in the series because they actually got rid of the guys at one point, right? They actually the actors walked away because they didn't get enough money, and then they brought him back. They tried to replace him, and nobody liked it, so they said, "Okay, we'll pay you whatever you want. Come back, please." And then those guys came back. But the formula of it is pretty funny as far as these two guys just kind of driving around. The characters are awesome. The actors, the guy who plays Roscoe is hilarious, and Boss Hogg and all those characters. I just remember all these guys from my childhood. And Waylon Jennings is the narrator. Waylon Jennings will like is the balladeer, and he plays a little music. You don't see him; he's just a voiceover, but still sets it up really nicely. And I just had a great time being like nostalgic about it as a child, like what I like playing with my toys as a child, Dukes Hazzard stuff, but also kind of recognizing the tropes of it. And like, yeah, Daisy Duke usually has to get like pretty scantily clad to distract somebody at some point in the episode. That always happens, right? There's certain things that always happen, and that's one of them. So that's not great, but
when I was
it's very much of its time.
Yeah, when I was a kid, I remember it was considered racy TV viewing, and I think it was all because of Daisy. I think that's what made it racy.
I told my mom about it, and she said that my grandmother, her mother, didn't like me watching it as a kid, but my mom let me watch it because it was on just before Dallas. And then we would watch Dallas together. I remember watching Dallas with my mom. So we watched Dukes Hazzard.
Oh, yeah.
I think that's on Prime. You can watch Dallas on Prime as well.
Dallas had a good theme song, which is how I got into it, where I was like, oh, yeah, I want to see what this is about. Da, 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 da. Yeah, good stuff.
The 80s, we could do a whole episode about this. Yeah. The 80s TV theme songs were amazing. That was the height of TV theme songs. They did a great job with that stuff. What do you got to recommend this week?
All right. So I thought about it, and okay, so this is something that I'm enjoying that I didn't think I'd be enjoying. So I went to Entertainment Exchange at Grant Park, music and DVDs, old school, and I found 4 CDs I wanted, and then I go to the front counter, and the owner, the very nice owner, says you get a 5th one for free, because yeah, you got to go back out there and go find your free CD. I was like, oh, shit. And I was in a hurry, and I was like, okay, fine. So I'm going through all the stuff, and he's just waiting for me. I'm going through. I'm like, what am I going to get? He's like, well, here's some that just came in. So I start going through those. I'm like, I cannot find a 5th CD to get for free. But I'm like, I need to get my free CD. So going, and then I come across Van Halen's first album on CD. I was like, oh, what? And I look, Running with the Devil. Jamie's Crying. I mean, it's I'm like, oh, I like these songs. Sure. So that's my free CD. So I bring it home, and I also got Fleetwood Mac, Tusk, a Stephen Duffy album was there from the 80s, and there's another couple. But the one that I'm enjoying the most is the first Van Halen album that I got for free. I was like, wow, this really is a great album. Then I have, I think, 2 of their albums. I have Fair Warning in 1984, both of which I sort of consider to be not the best Van Halen, but great singles on those albums, like Jump and Panama. Can't go wrong. Okay, but I was like, no, this first album is fantastic. So I went back yesterday. I was like, ooh, Diver Down. So I bought that album. I bought that CD while I was there, and I really wanted Van Halen 2. Which by all accounts is just as good as the first album. And it's crazy that I don't already have it. And they had 3 copies of it the previous week, sold out.
Oh, wow.
Yesterday. I was like, oh, wait a sec. Someone else is onto this besides me. So weirdly enough, and I've seen Van Halen twice, actually. I saw them once when I was a kid, and I was like, this is like a metal show, so I'm not really into it until they played Jump. Now I'm into it. And then I saw them like right before they broke up for the last time. I saw old Van Halen with David Lee Roth and Eddie Van Halen and brother on drums, but it was already Eddie's son on bass.
Okay.
And I saw that one too. And same thing, like really good live show. But I was like, yeah, I just wanted to see them one more time kind of thing. And then they ended up breaking up like 3 days later. So it was amazing.
Wow.
When I did.
They must really hated playing for you, Kenton.
They must have hated Winnipeg. They must have hated it. But it was good.
This is the bottom of the barrel. We're done.
One of the things that stood out to me at the show, which Van Halen is, I don't think, known for. They're known as being like kind of a poppy metal band and great guitar playing by Eddie Van Halen. But one of the things that really stood out to me when I saw them was their background vocals and their harmonies were fantastic. And I'm like, they're not known as a doo-wop band necessarily, but holy, were their harmonies great. So it's kind of funny that after seeing them live years after they stopped making records, I am really enjoying going back and playing these albums. And by today's standards, they're fantastic. I don't know. I think I was missing out on something back in the day. So let's hear it for and so far just Van Halen with David Lee Roth. I've not gone back to the other ones.
See, that's the thing for me, and because I'm a little younger than you, my Van Halen is the Sammy Hagar Van Halen because Right Now was a huge hit when I was a teenager.
Good song.
And the whole album, that was the first album with Sammy Hagar. And then, of course, they did that song in the Twister soundtrack, Humans Being. Remember that one?
Yeah.
I like that song.
Do you? So. I wouldn't rank it in their top echelon. Let's put it that way.
During the movie, it gets me hyped up. When I'm watching Twister, they start playing that song, like, all right, let's go get the Twister. Well, that's great. But I've always liked Van Halen. Like, they've always been kind of a fun rock band. It's interesting you say that because I just watched Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. Of course, those guys love Van Halen. Yeah. And they talk about it. And there's some Van Halen in the soundtrack to that movie as well. So that's cool. That's a good. Maybe I'll check out some more Van Halen this week and listen to some of that stuff.
It's weird. What I thought of as unlistenable metal back in 1980 by today's standards is like lovely pop songs for the whole family. Like like it's just good fun stuff. It's actually shocking how the band was fully formed on the first album as well. Like they kind of knew what they were doing already.
Yeah.
That's weird too.
Cool. All right. Well, that's going to do it. That'll do it for this episode of the Meanie Nerds. I'm Dan Vadebonker.
I'm Kenton Larson. Don't let the door hit you on the ass.